I'll start off by saying this. I am definitely going to remake this list after I've played Megadimension Neptunia. However, I thought it would still be fun to try and rank the main characters of the series up to Rebirth 3/Victory. And to add a little twist, I'm also going to categorize them in 1 or 4 categories: waifu, sister, daughter, and friend. And remember, this is just my opinion. I don't hate any of these characters, but this is just how I personally rank them based on my personality. Now, with that said, let's begin. Number 13 in last place is Ram. And quite honestly, is anybody surprised by this? I'm genuinely curious. Ram in Rebirth 2, I didn't really like her that much. She wasn't annoying in Rebirth 3 or /Victory, but we didn't really get to see much of her either. So from what I've seen of Ram, she's definitely my least favorite character. And for that reason, I'm going to classify her under the daughter category, as if she were any other, I don't think I could stand to be around her, to be quite honest. Coming in at number 12, we have Uni. Now, Uni probably would have been higher if it wasn't for how her interactions are with her and Nepgear. Unlike Noire and Neptune, who trade blows evenly, when Uni acts like a tsundere toward Nepgear, it kind of feels unbalanced because Nepgear doesn't really argue with anybody. So it just seems like a one-sided bashing and not really an equal representation. So that's what brings Uni down for me. I would classify Uni as a sister, because I feel like she would be a pain if she was a daughter or a waifu. She's a tsundere, so I'm imagining a daughter, saying, "Oh dad, I want to go out with my friends, why won't you let me? Oh my gosh," like that kind of thing. I feel like that would be how Uni acts. And if she was a waifu, again, she seems to be, it may be my personal opinion, but she seems to be a bigger tsundere than Noire. So I feel like it would be hard to get some things done not knowing how she feels. So I would go with sister. Not only that, but she also treats Noire like an idol. So obviously, if she's gonna treat her older sibling as an idol, then yes, of course, I would love to have her as a younger sister. That might even be a pretty good relationship. Coming in at number 11, we have Rom. Now, I would place Rom higher because there's nothing that Rom has done that's made me despise her. But Rom doesn't really have some blaring characteristics either. Again, I don't hate any of these characters on this list. So Rom just comes underneath the other 10 characters. Now, I would classify Rom as a daughter because Rom is so well behaved, and she even has the characteristics of a daughter, like when she likes to read picture books with Blanc. That sounds like some great father-daughter time. I think Rom would be my number 1 daughter candidate. If I were to have a daughter, I would want it to be like Rom. Coming in at number 10, we have Peashy. Now, the reason that Peashy is above Rom might have something to do with how Peashy seemed to get a little more characterization than Rom does. This may have more to come, as in Peashy is a fighter and Rom is a mage, and I'm more of I like the Peashy's fighting style a lot better. So this is not as much as a character thing, but more as I just like Peashy's fighting style. And plus, she has my favorite theme song. I mean, you may call those bad reasons, but hey, those are my reasons, and that's why I rank her at number 10. Now, obviously, I would put Peashy as a daughter because, come on, she's a little girl. There doesn't really leave much room for anything else except for sister. And I don't think I would want Peashy as a sister, no. So that's number 10. Coming in at number 9, I had Histoire. Now, I actually really do like Histoire. She may come off as if she's lecturing all the time, but that's only because, honestly, Neptune deserves it. I mean, even the Ultra Dimension Histoire, she ended up starting to get really mad and her personality sort of changing based on how Neptune was acting. I mean, come on, Neptune's Neptune, so it's well deserved. With Histoire, I put her as a friend because I feel like it would take her 3 days to do important stuff for me if she was anything else. Like, oh hey, I want to go do a meeting or go out to eat. She says, okay, well let me plan 3 days in advance. Okay. So coming in at number 8, and number 8, 7, and 6 were very hard for me to figure out. So they're very close to each other. But at number 8, I have Vert. Now Vert's main appeal for me is that she's a gamer and she loves games and she loves anime and things like that. I mean, I think actually all 4 of them love games and anime, but it's really specified that Vert loves games. Plus she's also the Xbox. I mean, not to start console wars or anything, because I actually have played all 3 systems. But I actually do, out of the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and the Wii, I would prefer the Xbox 360. But that's just me, again, just me. And I also like Vert's personality. However, I am going to consider her a friend because while I would like playing games with Vert, she plays almost too much to be considered waifu material. At number 7, we have Plutia. Now, Plutia would be higher up on this list if it wasn't for the fact that, see, with Plutia, I feel like there are moments where I really like her, and then there are a few moments here and there where I really hate her. And because of that, that brought her down some slots on my list. I put her as a friend because I like to think that as a friend, you would get in less fights with her than if she were a waifu or a sister. I mean, if you have family, you're always around each other. That's more interaction time and more time for you to get into fights. I do actually think she would be a pretty good mother, considering that even as Iris Heart, she was considerate, or she was looking out for Iffy, but I don't think she would be the best role model. While I do think the kids would get used to her, that's not exactly the kind of mother I want them to have. Coming in at number 6, I have Blanc. For Blanc, I love the fact that she reads books and writes fan fictions, because I also like to read and write. Not necessarily fan fictions, more original stuff, but still, we're kindred spirits. And also, I feel that there's a difference between when Blanc gets mad and when Plutia gets mad. When Blanc gets mad, that's one of the moments that I'd actually look forward to. I'm like, oh, is Blanc gonna get mad? Oh, this is gonna be good. So that's a reason why I have Blanc over Plutia and Vert. Now, as how I would classify her, this one was tough, but I did settle on friend, as I would like to read books with her and do story ideas with her as I write, but I don't know. I just wouldn't consider Blanc as a waifu, strangely enough. At number 5, I actually have Compa. Now, Compa and IF have been with Neptune from the get-go, and I always figure, you know how in anime you normally have main characters of like 3 or 4? I feel like Neptune, Compa, and IF make a great trio of main characters, and I actually really like them. So with Compa, I find Compa actually very hilarious. She has a great voice as well. As far as how I would classify her, she's definitely a mother, alright? She takes good care of you and cooks well, and I just realized I did not say mother was a category. Alright, I'm adding mother as a category. But yes, I would rather have Kampa as a mother. I mean, apparently she makes really great pudding. I want to try that pudding. I want to grow up with that pudding. At number 4, I have IF. Now, again, like I said before, I love the interaction between Kampa, IF, and Neptune. And I feel like I like IF a little bit more because I guess in the real world, IF would seem a lot more independent. She's got a really cool job. She's got contacts everywhere that she can hook you up with things. And she's also got quite a funny personality too. And she's very caring. And she knows when it's to be serious, when she needs to be serious. Now, IF is going to be one of my waifu candidates. I figure that she would definitely be a perfect mother for my children. And then, as well as, I just really feel like IF and I would get along. Yeah, I really like IF. At number 3, I have Noire. And based on the video that I just made, again, this is the Hyperdimension Noire. All of the versions of the CPUs you saw that were in the Hyperdimension were the Hyperdimension versions. Now, continuing, the reason I put Noire up so high is because I relate to Noire more than any other character, especially when it comes to the socially awkward thing. I mean, that was a big part of my childhood. I was a very socially awkward child, and it was hard for me to make friends. I didn't get social cues, or didn't get that there were certain things that I should or should not have done until I grew a lot older. And I also may have a tiny bit of a superiority complex. I'm working on that, I promise. They say that knowing another's pain is a great way to bond, and I definitely know Noire's pain. So for those reasons, that is why Noire is my number 3. And plus, I mean, she's done so many kind things that I feel like out of all 4 CPUs, she's definitely the one who cares about her people the most. And she will work long, sleepless nights to make sure they're happy, therefore being a loner in the process. Now, she is also going to be my number 1 waifu candidate. Again, Noire and I feel like we would really be able to get along. And, I mean, I find her a really endearing and interesting person. So, yeah. Noire will be my number 1 waifu candidate. That doesn't mean I don't like the other CPUs. It just means that as far as, a person who I really reasonably seeing myself, live together with, that would definitely be Noire. Now, coming in at number 2, however, above my number 1 waifu candidate, is Nepgear. Now, why is Nepgear above Noire? Why is Nepgear above my number 1 waifu candidate? Well, it's because Nepgear, I look at her as the number 1 little sister candidate. Now let me explain, okay? Nepgear is definitely waifu material, okay? And in fact, you might argue that she would be the person who would take care of you the best, but I don't want to put her in that category. I would much rather have her as a sister because, I mean, that's her thing. She's Neptune's little sister, and having a sister of my own, I really feel, I guess, protective of Nepgear. It's sort of like she's been solidified in that slot for me, so I would never see her as a waifu. But she's definitely one of my favorite characters. She never does anything to hurt anybody. She's always really kind. She loves robots, and to be quite honest, I mean, I always wanted to be an inventor when I was a kid, and even a big part of me does now, although I know how much it actually takes to do that. So anyways, Nepgear easily wins number 2 for me. But coming in at number 1, now you guys know definitely there's only one character who I haven't mentioned yet, And it's the main character. Of course, it's Neptune. Now, I've already said who my number one daughter choice would be, number one waifu choice would be, number one sister choice would be, number one daughter choice would be, and I guess Compa would be my number one mother, since again, that was the only category I gave to somebody. But why is Neptune number one? Well, Neptune's number one because of something very special to me. I grew up with Sonic games. It was not my first game. My first game was actually Mario, but then as soon as I found out about Sonic, I was like, oh, this is definitely the better game series to me. Neptune represents Sega, and I know Sega has not been the best to their fans, but they are basically engraved into my childhood. That's a part of me now. How many hours I've spent just playing Sonic games and waiting for new releases and getting excited about them. I even enjoy Sonic 06 if you guys know about that. But that's not the only reason, as Nepgear also represents Sega. The main reason I have Neptune as number one is because if it wasn't for Neptune basically being Neptune, I would have not watched the Hyperdimension Neptunia series to its completion and then bought the games. When I first watched the first episode, I was convinced that it was a type of fan servicey anime, and I had not picked up on the game references at that point. And I was thinking that it was just not worth my time. It was not something I wanted to be associating myself with. And I was finishing that first episode to its completion. And then Neptune comes in and saves Noire, and she says one key line. From that point on, I was nearly convinced that, okay, this character might just become one of my favorite characters. The only other character that I instantly enjoyed on the first episode was Naruto. So because of Neptune alone, I was like, okay, there's clearly a fascinating character in this world, so let me give it a chance. If nothing else, I just want to see what Neptune was going to do. And then as the series went on, I picked up on more stuff, and then I was like, you know, this is a really great series. So because of that, even though some other characters, I may have them at certain spots for higher reasons than Neptune, I feel like because of the significance that Neptune represents to me, she must be number one on my list, because it's literally the reason I am even still playing this series to this day, because Neptune convinced me to keep watching. And that's the power of the Nep, I guess. Oh, and as far as how I would classify her, I would classify as her Nep. I mean, I've said it in other videos, you don't really waifu the Nep. I mean, I guess if I had to choose, she would be a good sister candidate, similar to Nepgear. I feel like I could also control her a lot better as a sister than any of the others. And I do like her, out of all the CPUs, I do like Purple Heart the most as well. So that's another thing. But yeah, I really feel like Neptune should just be classified as Neptune. She's just one of those characters where you just don't know how to classify them. But that's my thoughts. What are yours? I'm very interested to see how you guys would rate the 13 characters that I've discussed. And if you want to put in more, you can put in more. I just thought I would focus on these main sort of 13. I may do a longer list later. We'll see how it goes. But anyways, thanks for watching as always, and I hope to see you guys next time.